Good morning, Mr. Eric Berdino, and thank you so much, sir, for granting us the opportunity for the interview here in Siem Reap province, especially in the area of the French School of Asian Studies, Mr. Eric Berdino. Mr. Eric, you are the archaeologist, historian, and researcher on the Cambodian, history as a whole, but also particularly in Koh Ker area, which is another ancient city just north of Angkor Wat, and it is registered as a UNESCO World Heritage maybe a few years ago, something like that?
Since September 2023, yes.
Yes, Mr. Eric. My first question, yes, maybe a bit into the detail directly. Koh Ker is not really known to many Cambodian people. I mean, the most famous temple is, of course, the Prasat Prang, the pyramidal temple, but there are so many other structures in Koh Ker, and also many other statues, smaller temples, dike, something like that, Mr. So in general, what do we really know about Koh Ker and what we don't know about Koh Ker, Mr. Eric?
Yeah, Koh Ker is now a very important and huge archaeological park. This archaeological park covers almost 8,000 hectares, so it means 90 square kilometers. So it's a quite huge archaeological park. Of course, as you know, it was an ancient capital in the 10th century, in the first part of the 10th century. We know quite a bit about the history of Koh Ker. Of course, we still have to make many researches to know more about the history of Koh Ker. It is true that it is not so well known than Angkor Archeological Park. So it is 80 kilometers from Angkor, so it is indeed quite a remote site in the occupation of modern Cambodia. It's a remote site with small villages around the site, but it is a living archaeological park still, since there is a village inside the archaeological park with more than 120 families. So yes, not so well known, but not a size not so lost, in the jungle or in the forest. It's now you have a road where you can easily go to Koh Ker by road. It's just 2 hours from Siem Reap. Since the inscription of Koh Ker on the heritage list, there are more and more visitors going to Koh Ker, Cambodian visitor as well as international visitor. So that's why the inscription of Koh Ker on the heritage list was something, of course, significant to develop the knowledge and among the general public about Koh Ker.
Yes, Mr. Eric, but for example, the thing that maybe that still baffle researchers, for example, maybe the arrangement of the temple or the symmetry or maybe the reservoir. Like, is there anything that still, look suspicious or maybe mysterious to the researcher on that area, sir?
I will not say mysterious or suspicious, but I do understand your question. Koh Ker looks differently from what we know from Angkor or from Samboprekuk and some other major ancient site dating back to ancient Cambodia. It is indeed a very unique site. And what is very unique, it is first that it is an ancient capital with a very short, it was a very short-lived capital. The capital as such lasted only during the reign of the King Jayavarman IV and during the short reign of his son for just 3 years. So it was a capital from 921 to 944. So during just a little bit more than 2 decades. So it's a very short-lived capital. And this is, of course, very different of what we know about Angkor, with a very long history of the Angkor Plain to welcome the succession of the different capitals in ancient time. So in Koh Ker it's totally different. A very short-lived capital during only 2 decades under the reign of the King Jayavarman IV and his son. And that's why all the temples we can see today in Koh Ker are more or less all contemporaneous. All the temples we can see were built during this reign of Jayavarman IV. So during this period of only 2 decades. So it means that in a sense it is an advantage if you want to understand this capital. Because since you don't have this very long history, you can understand what was the original design of the capital.
Yeah. It's simpler.
In a sense, it is simpler.
Yes, sir.
Because you don't have, this accumulation of successive capitals. You just have one capital, one king, and so the readability is easier. You can read more easily how the capital was designed by the founder of the capital, so the King Jayavarman IV.
I see. So, more or less, Koh Ker is more like a model to the understanding of other city in Angkor. Something like that.
Up to the point, yeah, we can almost say that. We can almost say that it is a kind of model, but at the same time, it's so different from Koh Ker because each capital in ancient time was specific, was unique. Each king found and refounded the capital, even if the king made the choice to stay in a previous capital. He will found new monuments, new temples. He will organize differently the capital. So, in a sense, each king is refunding a new capital, and you have each new capital has a different looks with each new kings, and that's why there is no real regularity from one capital to another one. But still, saying that, it is true that you have, of course, some common elements, and it is true when we are comparing Koh Ker with Angkor, but the difference is that yes, the design of Koh Ker as a capital was organized on a much more limited area, even if, as I said, the archaeological park of Koh Ker is about 8,000 hectares, so it's quite huge. But of course, in comparison with Angkor region, it's smaller because I'm including in Angkor region, Angkor Plain, but also Kulen Mountains. And if you want to understand Koh Ker in a comparison with Angkor, you have to compare Koh Ker with Angkor. But Angkor, as it has been designed, it was designed with all the foundations of the Kulen Mountains. Since in this limited area in Koh Ker, you have also the highest point of the mountain and the lowest point of the royal palace and of the capital as such. And so, but it is comparable with Angkor region, where you have the mountain of Kulen, so where are the springs of the river, and you have the capitals downstream, and so you have the same in Koh Ker. Upstream, you have a very important site that is called Trape Ankna. It is Trape Ankna, and it is comparable with the 1,000 linga from the Kulen, so in the Angkor region. And downstream in Koh Ker, you will have the royal palace and also all the other temples founded by the king. If I want to try to be clear, you have more or less 3 different parts in Koh Ker design. You have, as I said, the highest point, It is, let's say, the mountain comparable to the Kulin Mountains, where you can visit the Trapeang Khna, with all these rocks carved with images of the god. And so at the Trapeang Khna you have the springs of the main river of Koh Ker. And so then downstream you have the let's say the world of the area of all with all these temples. And then if you continue downstream you have the Royal Palace, with next to the Royal Palace you have the biggest temple of Koh Ker. That is actually the royal temple, the main royal temple, so Prasat Thom. And this area, it is the area of the royal area, the world of the king. And still downstream, you have in itself the world of the man. So, so 3 parts: the world of the gods, from the highest points around the Trapeang Khna, then the world of the gods, but as the gods are displayed in the temples, in Greek temple. So with Chen, Kachab, Tepichwan. And then still downstream, you will have the Royal Palace, and next to the Royal Palace, the Prasat Thom, that is the temple really close to the Royal Palace of King Jayavarman IV. And then downstream still, the world of the common people. So it is the general organization of Koh Ker, at least as I understand this organization, as I'm trying to think about this.
So the format between Koh Ker and Siem Reap, you know, the ancient city of Angkor, is similar because we need the water source, we need the temple and the royal palace.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
That also can be seen in the Harihararai city, Bakong, similar.
In a sense,
format,
yes,
yeah.
because as you know, Harihararia or Yashodarapura, you have it is capital founding close to a river, and the source of this river, of course, are located in the mountain, Kulin Mountains, and you have more or less the same thing in Koh Ker, but at a smaller scale.
I see, Mr. Eric. But another question, so because I went there maybe 3 times already, and I went to not to the deep part of the forest, but just around the circuit. Many temples are very decayed. Some of them, they have fallen down very dramatically. Some of them have their front end totally collapsed. So, what I mean, based on this current state, I mean, is it alarming? You know, the deterioration, is it at an alarming state? And if there were to be, you know, big restoration project, I mean, is it going to be a very gigantic one, sir, like over time, let's say?
You know, but in Koh Ker, in this archaeological park, there are about 75 temples. You know, the National Authority for Privy, so the Cambodian institution in charge of the Koh Ker site, has now a very precise inventory of the very precise list of the temple in this archaeological park. So we have about there are about 75 temples, brick temple and temples built in stoneware. So of course, temple built in brick temples are more fragile. And that's why, as you mentioned, many of these brick temples are sometimes quite badly damaged. But it's not alarming.
It's not alarming.
It's not alarming at all. Don't worry about that. And you know, there is the teams in charge of the management of the archaeological park, so the teams of the ENPV, so the National Authority for Privy, is doing a very wonderful job to look at the damage and to monitoring the site. So it's not alarming, but you have, of course, to be vigilant. You have to be vigilant. It is the main role of the ENPV in collaboration with international teams, and this issue of conservation you mentioned are regularly discussed during the what we call the ICC preview, So this international technical committee with this cooperation between UNESCO, Ministry of Culture, the NPV, and international team and international expert. So all these issues of conservation are discussed during this ICC, and again, a wonderful job is done, and we don't have to worry too much about this issue. But of course, it is a big job for the near future, but you have to try to be precise, and it depends of the kind of temple. Again, the temple built with, of course, stone blocks are less fragile. The main monument in Koh Ker, so the pyramid, the prong in Khmer, is very stable, and we don't. It's very stable. The state of conservation is quite good, so there is no worry to have about the pyramid, for example. But it is true that for some small brick towers, you have to carry out some work of consolidation, or even restoration. But it's not alarming.
I see, Mr. Eric.